In this video, we are focusing on the most basic structure of a Java program. If you're a beginner, you're not really going to understand most of the stuff I'm saying in this video, but it's also a good foundation or a start to kind of wrap your head around the idea of starting Java. So we have NetBeans open right now, and we're going to get started with line 2. Before I get started with line 2, I will say that anything in blue is a keyword in Java. So I believe there's 57 keywords. And basically what that means is there's a predefined definition behind that word already. So in line 2, we have package structure. Package is basically a folder of related classes and files for your project. Structure is the name of the package. So if we go here, project, this is the package, and it has all our source files and our libraries in it. We're going to skip down to line 6 here. Public class structure. Public is the access specifier, and once again, we're going to dive into a lot of stuff later in videos, but shortly, public means that you can access this class anywhere throughout your files. The keyword class just states that what we named it, structure, is a class. We're going to skip to line 9 here. That's the method header. Public, once again, this method can be accessed through anywhere throughout the files. Static, shortly version of it is you can use this method without creating an instance or an object of that class. Once again, that's not going to make sense to most of you if you're watching this video, but later you'll catch on. Void is the return type of the method main. There are many return types. You can do return double, you can return an int, you can return a string. But in this case, it's void, which means it returns nothing at all. Main is the name of the method. And inside this parentheses here, that's called the parameters of the method. And that also means that you can only use this parameter, this variable here, only throughout this method. On line 11, that's a simple comment. It's a double slash, and when you execute the program, the Java compiler recognizes that double slash, and it will ignore everything all the way until the end of the line. Comments are used for basically describing and showing what your program is doing. If you have 1,000 lines of code and you have no comments, it's kind of hard to figure out what that program is doing. So programmers put comments there to show what that program is doing, and if they go back to it or if other programmers see it, then they can quickly figure out what it's doing. On line 14 here, that's just a simple print statement. Prints hello world to the screen, and if I run it real quick, I'll show you. Hello world. That basically wraps up a simple basic program of Java. A few points we do need to consider and that you do need to know is the first one is brackets. Brackets are very important. So you can see here on the class header, the yellow, that's where the brackets extend to, and anything inside that bracket is part of the class structure. So brackets always imply that there's a section of code. If you skip down to the method header on line 9, once again, anything inside those brackets is a part of that method only. Focus moment, so focus with me on here. For every opening bracket, you have to have a closing bracket. When you have a large program and you miss one little bracket, you're going to see this red squiggly line right here, and it's going to mess you all up. And it would take you sometimes hours just to find that one little bracket. But luckily for Java, for us, Java creates a closing bracket for every opening bracket that we type. So another point is the semicolon. It's going to be a bit confusing at first, but you'll catch on quickly. The semicolon is like a period at the end of the sentence. But for coders or programmers, semicolon is at the end of a coding statement. There are exceptions like comments, you don't need it, brackets, you don't need it, and certain headers, you don't need it, or all headers, you really don't need it. So anything, when you create a variable, anything like that, it's going to have a semicolon. By the time you create your 5th program, you'll catch on very quickly. Next is .java, which is very simple. Everything you create in Java is going to be .java. Every class, everything is going to be .java. That's why they call it a object-oriented programming, because everything relates together. Already stated the blue terms. Those are key words, just a predefined word that already means something. Another good point is main. On line 9 here, the method header. You're always going to have a main when you create a project in Java. That's where you're going to call functions, call the classes, create objects, and really that's where your logic is. Another thing is Java is case sensitive. So you can see down here that we have a capital S. Now if we type system with a lowercase s, it's not going to be the same. So there are a lot of words that require capitalization, and you'll catch on quickly on that as well. If you want to know what Java is an object-oriented language, and it focuses more on objects rather than logic. So when you do a lot of Java programs, you basically create a lot of objects that have a lot of variables inside them, and you want to relate them all together. So for example, like a vehicle, you're going to have an engine, you're going to have a back seat, you're going to have the brakes and stuff like that, and those are all going to relate to each other.